For all of her fame and fortune, Angelina Jolie insists, "I am still at heart and always will be just a punk kid with tattoos." It's undoubtedly that fiercely rebellious spirit that has helped propel her to the very top of Forbes magazine's list of most powerful celebrities. Frequently mocked and scorned in the press for her progressive attitudes towards family and relationships, she's remained steadfastly loyal to her own strongly held beliefs and sense of morality. While gossip columnists and shock jocks still like to have their fun, even they can't deny that Angelina's tireless dedication to humanitarian work and her unswerving devotion to her ever-expanding family, not to mention her celebrated beauty, acting talent and fairy tale romance with Hollywood's sexiest man, have elevated Angelina Jolie to a level of influence never before enjoyed by a mere film star. The incredible journey began in LA on June 4, 1975, when she was born to French-Canadian actress Marceline Bertrand and Midnight Cowboy star Jon Voight. Her parents split the following year, left her and her elder brother James in the full-time care of Marceline, who not only turned Angelina onto acting, but also instilled in her the importance of caring for others. According to later accounts by her brother James, their movie star father was frequently abusive to the gentle Marceline and provided her with only a modest amount of child support. Forced to wear second-hand clothes as a student at Beverly Hills High School, Angelina felt isolated from the other children and was often teased for being stick-thin and wearing glasses. Her self-esteem took even more of a battering when she was turned down by modeling agencies at the age of 14, prompting her to drop out of acting classes, dye her hair purple and move her boyfriend into her mother's house. She also developed a fetish for collecting knives and sought refuge from her teenage anguish in self-harm. By the time she was 16, however, she'd returned to acting and scored her first role as a German dominatrix. Angelina's first leading role in a major film came at the age of 20 in Hackers. Over the course of the next 4 years, she picked up 3 Golden Globes and topped her dream runoff with an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress for her role as a rebellious mental patient in Girl Interrupted. Her slew of trophies and growing fame put her in the box seat for the role that would turn her into a bona fide superstar, although she had to be persuaded to take it.
When I first read the script and somebody came to me with the idea, I turned it down immediately and said I thought it was crazy and didn't see her for what she could be. And then when I realized that she's an adventurer and she's a warrior, and I think there are not enough of those around today.
Despite her initial reluctance, fans and industry insiders agreed that she made the role of Lara Croft her own in the big screen adaptation of the blockbusting video game Tomb Raider.
No, ultimately, Lara Croft is Angelina, and Angelina is kind of Lara as well. There's a lot of her personalities in this movie. It's not just like, you know, like an actress playing it, but she is this character. And she made it in what it is. And I think she's extremely happy with how the character developed and how it's, you know, she's a more multi-dimensional character right now. Just a little bit less of a cyber woman, but more of a really action hero.
And after one outing as Tomb Raider's cyber heroine made flesh, she strapped the holsters to her thighs a second time for Cradle of Life.
I'm a sucker for punishment, you know, I go right in there. So, no, I like to be challenged and beaten up and get back up again, so I did like it. But it was harder this time, and I also really don't love the water, and there was a lot of water sports. But we felt that they had to be in the second film, so.
While the Tomb Raider franchise didn't win Angelina any more acting accolades, it shot her to the top of the Sexiest Woman ratings and cemented her place in the public consciousness. By 2004, she was stopping traffic on the way to the LA premiere of her new thriller Taking Lives, testing security measures to the limit by insisting she stop and talk to fans on the way in. Famously meticulous in her preparation for roles, she'd done plenty of research with real-life police profilers.
I met with real women who do that for a living, and they help me just to understand kind of what they do and how they do it, and just to be so absorbed by, you know, it's like all these pieces of a puzzle, and you have to kind of try to solve them. But it is just such an overwhelming kind of job to have, because you are so in such a dark space.
She lightened things up a little for her next role as the voice of the sultry temptress Lola in the DreamWorks animated feature Shark Tale. There were more watery challenges to be met playing the commander of an all-female amphibious squadron in the science fiction fantasy Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow, alongside Jude Law and Gwyneth Paltrow, although she found doing most of her scenes in front of a blue screen quite a task.
It was strange to do in front of any kind of screen for a while. I mean, you first walk on and we all you're standing in a room and there's nothing to kind of hide behind or sink into.
There were very different challenges to be met on the set of her next film, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which teamed her up with Hollywood sex god Brad Pitt. With their reputations as heartbreakers preceding them, both stars threw themselves into their roles as married assassins with explosive results. By the time the film premiered in June 2005, it was clear that they'd enjoyed as much chemistry off-screen as on.
I think he's amazing. I think he's a great actor. He's a wonderful guy. He's funny. He was a joy to come to work with. He's great.
After all the fun and fluff of the mainstream fare she'd taken on over the past few years, it was time for Angelina to sink her teeth into something rather more serious. In 2007, she embarked on the journey of bringing to the big screen the heartbreaking story of Marianne Pearl, whose journalist husband Daniel was kidnapped and murdered by terrorists in Pakistan. Marianne went on to write of her experiences as a way of introducing her newborn son to the father he would never know.
Many years. And I remember when this happened, and I remember watching TV, and I remember watching Marianne's interviews, just as a civilian citizen of the world, you know, regular woman just watching at home. I was aware that she was pregnant. I remembered wondering how she was feeling. I think we all were expecting Danny to come home. And I really do believe in so much of what she represents and stands for, and the way she handles herself. And so all of that you know, comes together in something that we all care very much about.
Angelina's critically acclaimed portrayal of Marianne in A Mighty Heart put her back on the awards trail. Since then, she's played a baddie in Beowulf, a tiger in Kung Fu Panda, and a hit woman in the thriller Wanted. But the role that brought her back to the attention of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences was that of Christine Collins in Clint Eastwood's 2008 drama The Changeling. Now a mother of 6 herself, Angelina found the true story of a mother whose son is kidnapped almost too close to home.
Oh God, your worst fear. Anything happening to your kids. So it was the reason I didn't want to do the film for a long time. I read it and wanted to keep it as far away from me as possible. But it's also a great story of justice, and I loved the film. But no, every day on set I came home and I was so clingy to my kids. I think I bugged them. I was grabbing them and I was checking them in the middle of the night, and I was, you know, it scared me. It still scares me.
On the upside, however, feeling so connected to her material helped her get to the heart of a woman who bravely battled authorities for 30 years in an attempt to find her lost son. As well as winning her a Saturn Award for Best Actress, her portrayal earned nominations for an Oscar, a Golden Globe, a BAFTA, and a Screen Actors Guild Award. And by the end of 2008, she'd become the highest paid actress in Hollywood, earning $15 million a movie. No doubt Angelina's big movie pay packets come in very handy when it's time to put her more glamorous commitments aside and tend to her much more important humanitarian work. Since filming Tomb Raider in Cambodia back in the year 2000, Angelina has been heavily involved in raising awareness of the plight of refugees. As a Goodwill Ambassador to the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, she's funded countless missions to camps in places like Sierra Leone, Tanzania, the Congo, Sri Lanka and India, insisting on living in the same rudimentary conditions as UNHCR field staff on all her visits.
Refugees are not numbers. They're not even just refugees. They are mothers and daughters and fathers and sons. They are farmers, teachers, doctors, engineers. They're individuals, all. And most of all, they are survivors.
In 2008, she flew to Afghanistan just weeks after the birth of her twins to raise awareness of refugees returning after years in exile.
They have suffered so much, and yet the Afghan people remain gracious and open. They have a quiet dignity. When I met with them, their only ask is that they just have enough shelter so they can survive the winter, and education for their children as soon as possible. They say, please educate our children, because without that we have no future.
She's also been tireless in her campaign for world peace, repeatedly pledging her commitment to the idea of a designated Global Peace Day.
In the most beautiful way, it's you want to work on a better world, but also I have children and I want them to have this peace, and I want this, and children like them, I want to have the opportunity to have a day of peace, at least to have some help and some aid. So.
As well as ploughing her energy into raising public awareness and becoming politically involved in her fight to make the world a better place, Angelina has also earned a reputation for putting her money where her mouth is. According to Forbes magazine, she's given more than $3 million to the UNHCR. Her commitment and generosity to humanitarian causes has also won her a long list of honors and awards. In 2003, she was made the first recipient of the Citizen of the World Award by the United Nations Correspondents Association. 2 years later, she was almost embarrassed to be honored with a Global Humanitarian Award.
Second to my children, spending time with refugees and other persons of need around the world has been the greatest gift. It's been the greatest life lesson I could ever receive.
Far from expecting praise and thanks for her charity work, she's always expressed her own gratitude for the opportunity to help.
I find it a kind of a strange thing to get an award for this kind of work, so I was just I was a bit shy about it and coming out, but then I realized it was a great organization, so I just wanted to join the evening, but I still find it a bit strange.
One thing Angelina has had to get used to is the endless obsession with her private life.
I think it's more the world we live in, that people seem more focused on what people are wearing and who people are dating than other things in the world. So I'm less frustrated about it for me personally, more just thinking about that's society. So it's strange.
No matter how many awards and accolades are heaped upon her for her acting and humanitarian work, it's what Angelina Jolie gets up to in her downtime that generates the most column inches. But then it does make fascinating reading. At the age of 20, she made a splash by turning up to her wedding to Johnny Lee Miller in black rubber pants and a white shirt, upon which she'd written Johnny's name in blood. Within a year, they'd separated, with Angelina swearing she would always love him, but that they'd both been much too young. True to her word, she and Johnny have been good friends ever since. A month before her 25th birthday, she was married again, this time to her Pushing Tin co-star Billy Bob Thornton. And gossip columnists on the hunt for their next golden goose gleefully hit pay dirt. Their frequently passionate public displays of affection were just the tip of the iceberg. Reports that they wore vials of each other's blood around their necks accompanied rumours that Angelina's arm was not the only place on her body that bore a Billy Bob tattoo. Such gestures of permanence, however, could not withstand the test of time, and by late 2002, it was all over. Whether or not the sudden rift had anything to do with Billy Bob's self-confessed obsessive-compulsive disorder and alleged aversion to antique furniture has never been confirmed. According to Angelina, their split came as a complete surprise to both of them, and she was quoted as saying, "I think it can happen when you get involved and you don't know yourself yet." Single once more and topping every magazine poll as the world's sexiest woman, the media zoomed in on her love life. romantically linking her to everyone and anyone she met. The gossip magazines were desperate to hook her up with anyone from Antonio Banderas to Colin Farrell.
I'm rumored to be dating everybody, but no, I'm not at the moment.
Earmarked as a potential homewrecker by the media, the stage was set for her much-anticipated pairing with Brad Pitt in Mr. and Mrs. Smith in 2005. And after months of speculation that they were having an affair, Brad's wife Jennifer Aniston announced the end of the marriage, and Angelina was finally ready to settle down again, much to the relief of every other wife in Hollywood. It must be said, however, that despite admitting that she and Brad did indeed fall in love on the set of the film, Angelina has continued to insist that nothing happened between them until after Brad split with Jennifer, explaining that to be intimate with a married man when her own father cheated on her mother is not something she could forgive. Whether or not those claims are true, it's no secret that Angelina's difficult relationship with her Oscar-winning father has had profound effects on her subsequent relationships and family life. According to her older brother James, it was the trauma of her childhood that spurred her on to create such a large independent family of her own. Despite the turbulence created by her parents' divorce, Angelina attempted to reconnect with John during filming of the first installment of Tomb Raider, in which he played her father. However, after her marriage to Billy Bob Thornton ended in 2002, John committed the mortal sin of publicly claiming she needed treatment for serious mental problems, creating a chasm in their fragile relationship which has yet to be bridged. In October 2008, John was asked whether he had spoken to his daughter in the 3 months since she gave birth to the twins.
No, I haven't. I've talked to her about before, right beforehand. I was with her beforehand, but not since, actually.
You're hoping to hug the grandbabies soon?
Oh, yeah, of course.
John has frequently expressed his desire to mend the rupture with Angelina and play grandfather to her and Brad's children. But since the tragic death of her beloved mother Marceline at the age of 58 from cancer, an imminent reconciliation with her father seems unlikely. In the meantime, she's got more than enough on her plate managing her career, charity work, and increasingly demanding home life. Since adopting 7-month-old Maddox back in 2002, her immediate family has expanded to incorporate another 5 children, as well as her movie star partner Brad Pitt. And in interviews to promote her films, she's made it clear that family comes first.
I haven't worked for about a year, and I'm going to work for a few months, and then I don't know when I'm going to work again. I'm not making some retiring announcement, but I'm just, I have a big family, and I have a lot of responsibility at home, and I've the good fortune to financially not have to work all the time. And so I just feel privileged that I get to be home a lot, and I feel a responsibility to be there as much as I can. So, so maybe once a year, maybe once every 2 years, and maybe eventually I'll stop.
Thankfully, Brad has turned out to be just as dedicated to parental duties, officially becoming father to Maddox and his little sister Zahara before fathering their first biological child Shiloh amid a media frenzy in Namibia. Since then, they've added toddler Pax to their brood, as well as twins Knox and Vivian, who were born in a hospital in the south of France in July 2008. While critics and comedians have frequently lambasted her penchant for parenthood, suggesting she's on a mission to adopt the entire third world, Angelina has never risen to the bait.
I do love to adopt, and it feels very natural for me to adopt children. My son is my son, and so I think if children need a home, to adopt them is wonderful, And I will be looking into the orphans that have just lost their parents, but always wherever there's a need. So we'll see how big my family grows over time.
And in between her acting, humanitarian missions, and red carpet engagements, she still finds plenty of time to chill out.
I spend a lot of time at home just doing, I don't tend to watch a lot of TV, but I tend to be in pajamas and do a lot of coloring and things like that with the kids. Yeah.
I do.
In fact, she's been so comfortable with the demands of motherhood that she was happy to appear on the cover of W magazine breastfeeding one of the twins. The photo sparked the latest in a long line of controversies that have found their way into the gossip columns over the years. From sharing a kiss on the lips with her brother at the Oscars, to admissions of bisexuality and a fondness for scarification, she's provided no end of grist for the celebrity junkie mill. Over recent years, it's been Angelina's status as one half of the world's favourite power couple that has rocketed her star into orbit, while other celebrity couples seem keen to exploit their relationships to draw publicity to their public careers. Brangelina have consistently exuded the kind of old-school charisma and understated glamour more regularly associated with Hollywood's golden age. Even as rumours of a possible romance emerged on the set of their film Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Angelina was using media opportunities to send a message to George Bush ahead of the G8 summit.
I would ask him to really think hard about his children's future and the kind of life he's leaving for his grandchildren one day, and to separate himself from all the other stuff he's done and to start to think about himself as the legacy he's going to leave, and that he could be a part of ending poverty.
Even back then, it was clear that they both shared a driving passion for social change.
You know, Bush has done some great stuff with the PEPFAR fund, and I've seen what it's been, the changes that have been going on over there, but it's not enough, and I really hope that Bush picks this up and leads the charge.
Since then, in between making films, bringing up their children and topping polls of the sexiest people alive, they've both taken it upon themselves to lead the charge against poverty and injustice. While Angelina was visiting refugees in Iraq in her role as a goodwill ambassador for the UN, Brad was getting his hands dirty in New Orleans, physically and politically helping to rebuild the city in the wake of Hurricane Katrina. Despite the gossip columnist's constant attempts to dig up dirt on their relationship, with claims that she's anorexic while he's tired of looking after the kids, nothing could take the shine off their romance in 2009, as they snuggled their way through numerous red carpet appearances in the wake of his and hers Oscar nominations for The Curious Case of Benjamin Button and Changeling. Although there was to be no fairy tale ending on awards night, it was clear that the Jolie Pitt steam train was still on track when they showed up at the premiere of Brad's latest movie, Inglourious Bastards.
The Brangelina madness is definitely something that still goes, oh wow, you know. But I have to say, it's very cool how many people came out, you know, that's a wonderful thing to see.
Now the proud father of 6, Brad gave a little insight into how he's managed to maintain the interest of a woman who has never made any secret of her determination to remain an independent and free spirit.
I certainly don't think anyone's got any right to tell someone else what to do with their life. To tell you the truth. And there's no more time for that, no place for that.
Meanwhile, Angelina revealed what she loved most about her man.
You know, I don't know, he makes beautiful children.